arresting dishwashers, gardeners, day laborers, and seamstresses. That's just weakness, weakness masquerading as strength.
Developing tonight, California Governor Gavin Newsome with harsh criticism for President Trump. The president, though, unwavering in his approach to immigration enforcement in Los Angeles.
If we didn't do it, there wouldn't be a Los Angeles. It would be burning today, just like the houses were burning a number of months ago.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. California Governor Gavin Newsome spoke just moments ago about the heated anti-ICE demonstrations that have been ongoing now for 5 straight days in Los Angeles. Let's give you a live look at L.A. tonight. Protesters have been out on the streets of the downtown area all throughout the day. But tonight, they are facing a new reality. A curfew will be in place tonight in the city's downtown area. This is about a 1 square mile area that will be under a curfew that begins at 8 o'clock tonight, just about an hour from now, and runs all the way until 6 o'clock this morning. And obviously from these live pictures here, you can see some sort of a rally or a vigil that's taking place right now in L.A. Earlier today, L.A. Mayor Karen Bass announced the curfew. Late today, she declared a local emergency over the ongoing demonstrations. This comes as National Guard troops have now been seen protecting ICE agents as they detain people in L.A. ICE posted these images this afternoon showing troops nearby as agents took people into custody. Military service members had been limited to protecting federal property after being called in by the president. Earlier today, Governor Gavin Newsome asked a federal judge to prevent those troops from acting as law enforcement in the city. Here's more of how the governor addressed the ongoing tension in L.A. just minutes ago.
We honor their service. We honor their bravery. But we do not want our streets militarized by our own armed forces. Not in L.A., not in California, not anywhere. We're seeing unmarked cars in school parking lots, kids afraid of attending their own graduation. Trump is pulling a military dragnet.
President Trump, for his part, is defending his actions. Earlier today, he called protesters in Los Angeles animals as he was speaking to troops at Fort Bragg.
What you're witnessing in California is a full-blown assault on peace, on public order, and on national sovereignty carried out by rioters bearing foreign flags with the aim of continuing a foreign invasion of our country. We're not going to let that happen.
All right, for more perspective tonight, let's bring in Loyola Marymount University law professor Jessica Levenson to talk more about this legal tug of war between the state of California and the Trump administration when it comes to the unrest in Los Angeles. We appreciate the time tonight, Professor. Let's start off with what happened today, because California today filed a motion specifically asking the court to limit the duties of military service members to protecting federal buildings. But today, we saw scenes like these. We mentioned a short time ago, we saw troops protecting ICE agents as they were making arrests in L.A. Does this violate the federal law that generally prohibits the military from doing law enforcement?
So you're referring, of course, to the Posse Comitatus Act, which says that the military cannot act like a domestic law enforcement agency, that they cannot enforce the law on U.S. soil. And the idea being that the president can't say, I'm ordering the Marines to go in and enforce domestic law against residents unless there are extraordinary circumstances. And so one of those exceptions is the Insurrection Act. Now, has the president pulled the cord and said, I want to use my power under the Insurrection Act? Not at this point. So what are we looking to instead? We're looking to the federal law that he pointed to in his order. And he said, I want to send in the National Guard, but he's using his, quote, Title 10 power. And what does that allow? It allows the National Guard to only function in a support role. So supporting federal agents, potentially, and I haven't seen all the details of the video, but you can support ICE agents You can't be the one executing warrants and executing search warrants, arrest warrants, but you can support federal agents and support federal property, protect federal property.
Okay, so this motion that was filed today by California's Attorney General obviously seeks to stop military service members from engaging in any sort of law enforcement, to limit the scope of their duties. How do you think that the courts are likely to view this? The judge is going to hold a hearing on this question later on this week.
So in my view, when we're talking about that first statute, Title 10, that the president has specifically invoked, it gives the president broad authority. And what you essentially need, the two legal questions are whether or not there's the rebellion or a danger of rebellion that you need as a predicate fact, and whether or not you need the state of California to consent to say, yes, you can send in, you can federalize the National Guard. In my reading of the statute, you don't need a governor's consent, because otherwise it would allow governors to essentially override the president in every state under this federal law. And I think that federal judges will be very reticent to say, I'm second guessing the president when it comes to what is a rebellion or a danger of rebellion. All of which is to say, I think California, legally speaking, likely has an uphill battle here.
Yeah, so with that being said here, what happens if the state of California strikes out, in essence, and the courts rule in the favor of the Trump administration and say that the president does have the authority, or did have the authority, to mobilize military service members? Are there any other legal avenues that you see the state being able to take?
Well, certainly California could appeal that ruling, and then if they lose again in the Ninth Circuit, they could appeal to the Supreme Court. And I think it's important to emphasize that this is just with respect to Title 10. This is just with respect to sending in the National Guard to have a support role, to have that role of protecting federal agents or federal property. But if things escalate, if the president says, I'm invoking the Insurrection Act, then obviously California is going to have different legal arguments to make. And so there would be another suit and potentially, again, different recourse.
Let me ask you, Professor, because it was interesting to note that the president's memo that authorized military involvement in the unrest in Southern California doesn't specifically reference the city of Los Angeles, leaving some people to sort of wonder, would it apply more broadly?
Well, I think there's that possibility that because you don't confine this order to any geographic place, that it is, in essence, much broader, and it leaves open the possibility that the president would then want to federalize National Guard in San Francisco or in Chicago or in another area. I'm not sure that I read that much into it, other than to say, because I think the president, frankly, for each particular city or jurisdiction, he could simply issue another order, other than to say, yes, I'm seeing what other people are seeing, which is that this is broad and it's not confined to any particular place.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will wait to see how the courts rule on this issue later on this week. Here, a hearing set for Thursday in California. We appreciate your analysis tonight. As always, good to have you on. That is Jessica Levenson, Loyola Marymount University. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Advocates for immigrants held a call for action as ICE enforcement actions ramp up along the central coast of California.
These aggressive operations threaten our harvest, they stop our packing lines, and they make our county less safe for the communities that feed the entire nation.
The groups say that immigrant families are living in fear, with at least 81 people taken into custody in Ventura and Santa Barbara counties. They are urging immigrants to know their rights. Advocates say service organizations are now working overtime, trying to help people navigate what's happening. Well, a number of people were detained by federal immigration agents in the Bay Area earlier today as they showed up for scheduled court appearances. In Concord, ICE agents had to separate one detainee from the crowd. That man was eventually taken away by federal agents. Advocates say it's important for people to show up for court hearings to get accurate legal advice about their asylum claims.
Don't come to court, then the immigration authorities will order you deported so that you cannot ever have your hearing.
It's very counterproductive for ICE agents to be arresting people in court. Needless to say, people on the street are panicked, very fearful about going to court.
Hearings in Concord and San Francisco were canceled today because of these protests. ICE says its agents try to minimize their impact on court proceedings to avoid unnecessarily alarming the public or disrupting court operations. And you can find our full coverage of the ongoing anti-ICE protests up at our website. It's westcoastwrap.com. Our digital coverage there includes a look at today's protests happening in the Pacific Northwest. The U.S. Coast Guard says they have intercepted another boat carrying migrants off California's coastline. Images of this bust were posted online today. Coast Guard crews say a boat carrying 7 migrants was stopped about 8 miles off San Diego's coast on Sunday. All of those migrants claim to have Mexican nationality. They've been transferred to the custody of the U.S. Border Patrol. Cases of maritime smuggling hit record numbers during the first few months of this year, according to Border Patrol agents in the San Diego area. And U.S. immigration officials allowed a TikTok star who was detained here in the West to self-deport. ICE agents detained Cabby Lame in Las Vegas on Friday. An ICE spokesperson says he entered the U.S. on April 30th and remained in the country longer than his visa allowed. He left the U.S. on Saturday. Lame has more than 200 million followers across several social media platforms. The 25-year-old is originally from Senegal. He obtained Italian citizenship in 2022. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, what appears to have been a beef between YouTubers in Las Vegas ended with a live-streamed double murder. Tonight, someone who knows both of those content creators opens up about their feud.
Let's take it to Eastern Washington. This is Spokane, and today's high temperature there, it tied a record of 95 degrees set back in 1935. We'll talk about the heat wave in the Pacific Northwest and your entire West Coast Wrap forecast. It's coming up.
We have an update tonight on that cargo ship fire off Alaska's coast. New images posted online show the extent of the damage that the Coast Guard is now dealing with. So far, there are no signs of any pollution tied to the fire. The Coast Guard intends to monitor this site and help develop a salvage plan. A fire broke out on the vessel last week, about 300 miles south of Alaska's chain of western islands. Crew members are safe after abandoning the ship in lifeboats. The cargo ship is carrying about 3,000 vehicles, including 800 EVs. It was on its way to Mexico from China when the fire started. The cause of that fire is still unclear tonight. We also have an update tonight on the live-streamed shooting deaths of a YouTuber and his wife right in the middle of the busy Las Vegas Strip. The suspect in this case, who's also a YouTuber, appeared in court today for the first time. Investigators say Manuel Ruiz opened fire in front of the Bellagio Hotel on Sunday night. YouTuber Rodney Finley and his wife Tanisha died. Fox 5's Molly McBride reports the social media content creators had a growing public feud over the last year.
A son, a father.
He's a good father. He takes care of his kids.
And a grandfather. Derek Ware tells me the Arizona-based YouTuber, Finney DeLegend, was just a big, friendly guy.
If something was wrong, he would just always check up on me.
He was a husband, too. Ware says Finney's wife, who went by Bubbly, lived up to her name, lighting up each room she entered.
She would have fun everywhere she went. People wanted to be around her.
He says he actually met Finney through the accused shooter, Manuel Ruiz's YouTube page, offering insight on the feud between the two YouTubers.
This was brewing. This brewed for 2 years.
Ware says it all started back in 2023 when Ruiz pepper sprayed Bubbly on Fremont Street.
I was saying, I'm just glad it was pepper spray and it wasn't bullets.
A grim foreshadowing of what was to come.
I said, I don't want to see you here in pain with bullets in you. So let's figure this out.
Ware says Finney chose to never get physical.
His wife said she was okay, so he was just like, okay, let's handle this another way.
Instead, he fought back online.
He controls his emotions very well. That's what I liked about him the most.
Ware says Finney held a weekly live stream where people could speak freely about anything, including their grievances with Ruiz.
Manny was welcome to come on and defend himself. He kept it fair. It wasn't just a bashing. It wasn't just let's talk about Manny, talk bad about Manny. It's just everybody's experience.
Ware says as Ruiz lost followers, Finney's online popularity grew, dethroning Ruiz from his position as king of the tight-knit Vegas, Arizona YouTube community. But Ware tells me he never thought Ruiz would escalate to this level of violence.
That's just sickening. He's sick. That's just, what do you get out of that? I don't get that. You just ruined two families.
Or that a jealousy-fueled feud would take away his two friends forever.
And that was Fox 5's Molly McBride reporting tonight. Manuel Ruiz is facing 2 murder charges. He's being held tonight without bail. Earlier today, the judge in this case ordered him to show up in court again this coming Thursday. The governor of Arizona has vetoed legislation that would have prohibited educators from teaching or promoting anti-Semitism in the state's public schools and universities. Democrat Katie Hobbs said that bill was not about addressing anti-Semitism, but rather about attacking teachers and exposing them to lawsuits. The bill's sponsor, Republican State Representative Michael Way, said his proposal would have held educators accountable if they failed to protect students from the rise in anti-Semitism since the beginning of the Israel-Hamas war. The Montana Supreme Court has upheld a lower court ruling striking down several laws restricting abortion access. The measures were approved by Republican lawmakers back in 2021 and included a ban on abortion after 20 weeks. The measures have been blocked since a judge issued a preliminary injunction against them last year. As this case has been pending, Montana voters also passed an initiative enshrining the right to abortion in the state constitution. In the ruling, the Montana Supreme Court said the state constitution included a, quote, right to be left alone and have access to abortions. Turning now to our weather, and from the Pacific Northwest to the Southwest, people are facing extreme heat warnings in many communities. Here's a live look tonight at Las Vegas, one of the places where people are trying to beat the heat right now. Things are really starting to heat up. Let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Roberta Gonzalez, who is tracking the temperatures all across the West. Hey, Roberta.
Hey there, Alex. And you know, you usually say, hey, in Vegas, it's the desert Southwest. It's supposed to be hot. Oh, no. Average high temperature there is 96 degrees, and we'll get to them. But right now, we're also talking about mid-90 heat in the Pacific Northwest. We do have a heat advisory in effect for Spokane, Washington, all the way in throughout portions of eastern Washington, Pendleton as well. And this is in effect until 9 o'clock tonight. Again, Spokane, 95 degrees today. That tied a record set back in 1935, and typically they should be around 74 degrees. Seattle got into the mix, 81 degrees there when typically they should be in the mid-70s as well. And other notable numbers, it was 106 in Palm Springs today, again 108 in Las Vegas, and I don't see any cooling there. Their average high is 96. I don't think they'll see that for 2 weeks. It was 108 also in Phoenix, 89 degrees in Sacramento, nearly triple digits in Redding today, and 72 degrees in San Jose. Now, we did hit 108 in Phoenix, and the typical average high temperature there is also in the high 90s, and no relief at least for 2 weeks there as well. And as we take a look at Santa Monica Beach here, about 17 miles outside of downtown Los Angeles, where high temperature was 81 degrees, and typically you should be around 74 degrees. Now we head to overcast skies, June gloom in earnest in San Francisco. Average high 66 today, 59 degrees. Other temperatures right now, 86 degrees in Reno, a pair of 8s in Salt Lake City, and it's slow to cool now in Las Vegas at 105 degrees. So we have that blanket, that low clouds, the marine layer just hugging tight to the entire west coast here. High pressure continues to bubble in over the desert Southwest and also to the north. So San Francisco and Los Angeles is kind of squeezed in between those two elements. And the bottom line is you're going to stay status quo. In fact, temperatures just either side of really 60 degrees in San Francisco for the next 3 days. Take a look at Los Angeles, no movement there. Again, Phoenix, you're going to be stuck in triple digits for 2 weeks. Summer has come early for you. Denver looking nice, but again, in the mid-80s, and Seattle at 69 degrees by Friday. Alex?
Roberta, thank you. Coming up here on West Coast Wrap tonight, an unexpected outage for ChatGPT, leaving users in the dark for hours. The technical challenges facing the software as AI surges in demand. Paramount is gearing up for its latest round of layoffs. The media giant says it will cut 3.5% of its U.S. workforce, and it plans to notify most of the affected employees today. Paramount has lost viewers to cord cutting and is preparing to merge with Skydance Media. The company is home to several media outlets, including Paramount Pictures, CBS News, MTV, and Showtime. Well, a growing number of fire departments are turning to AI to help fight wildfires. The technology is being put to use in 9 western states and Texas. Fox's Kennedy Hayes spoke with firefighters in Colorado about how it works.
Aspen fire officials say wildfire risk has gone from seasonal to year-round, so this AI tech allows them to spot flames from the sky even before those emergency calls come in.
They're getting a full 360-degree picture of the landscape.
High in the mountains, rotating AI-powered cameras scan for signs of wildfires. The goal, give fire crews a crucial head start against the flames.
We run a smoke detection algorithm, so essentially looking at the imagery to try to figure out, is that smoke or not smoke?
The system, called Pano AI, sends warnings about potential fires to a human intelligence center for review. Verified alerts then go to Aspen Fire via text or email with an exact location. Aspen Fire says they were the first in the U.S. to adopt this tech 4 years ago as wildfire risks drove up insurance costs.
We're looking at the Pano AI interface. So that smoke that you probably can't even see, the AI detected. It gives us that instantaneous intelligence. So we can make a decision based off of that and not off of, hoping we get someone there quickly.
Aspen fire officials say their goal is for crews to be on scene within 5 minutes, something that would be nearly impossible without a precise location.
Look at this neighborhood right here. You can see how dense it is here, and this is an urban area.
Aspen Fire Chief Rick Ballantyne showed us a burn scar from a recent controlled fire used to reduce wildfire risk.
It went perfectly. We were able to stop the fire.
In this case, Aspen Fire said they used Pano AI cameras to help monitor the flames and prevent them from spreading. Pano AI says the system is now active in 10 states. Multiple fire agencies within those states can share alerts and back each other up.
Frankly, we are all behind. So having this type of tool for our department, it makes all the difference in the world for us to understand the conditions that we're sending firefighters into.
In Aspen, fire officials say they're able to access the Pano AI on their phones. That way, when they're headed to a fire, they can see it in real time. And it has the ability to track heat signatures at night, so it's always operating 24/7. In Aspen, Colorado, Kennedy Hayes, Fox News.
AI giving firefighters a helping hand. All right, ChatGPT faced some significant disruptions earlier today, leaving hundreds of millions of users in limbo. Users say OpenAI's popular chatbot was down for hours. The company said on its website it was experiencing technical difficulties with ChatGPT, along with some of its other programs. The issue has since been resolved. OpenAI attributed those outages to elevated error rates and latency. And that does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching as always. And another quick reminder before we head out that you can stay up to date on all the big stories we're covering across the West Coast, including the ongoing protests over ICE operations at our website, westcoastwrap.com. And you can stream our shows on your smart TV by downloading the Fox Local app. We'll leave you here with a shot of the San Francisco Bay. Have a great night.